So a few days later, I thought, okay, I've got to get serious about this. So I determined to go to a place where I go to worship. I love this place. It's sacred, it's special, and I have received a lot of inspiration there over the years. So I got up at 5 in the morning, and I traveled to this place, and I determined to stay there all day if I had to. Well, I did stay there almost all day, and I got some answers. Seek and you shall find. I got some answers, but not the answer I was looking for as far as what to share with you today. I was very frustrated when I got home. I walked in, Rick goes, how did it go, honey? I go, I need my space. You know, I knew things were not going well. I went into my office, I shut the door. I've learned, I learned this from Bob Allen, when you want to start writing, you just get a blank document there, and if things will come to you and you just start typing it, it'll come. Well, a half hour later, I was still looking at a blank Word document. So anyway, while I was at USANA, all these emails had piled up on me. I had several hundred, and I thought, well, in an attempt to look productive, I'll start going through my emails. So I was going through, and the first one I clicked on was from Mario Martucci. Many of you know Mario. He's here. And he said, Collette, I think you'll love this. I clicked on this link, and here was this video of these beautiful young Indian boys. And they were doing a foot race, only these were very special boys. All of them had either lost a leg or were in braces or were crippled in some way. And they were on crutches and braces on their legs and special shoes. And it was on this dusty track, and the gun went off. And all of these children, they looked to be about maybe 8 to 12 years old. And they were running along this track, and a couple of the stronger boys were almost to this red tape across the finish line. And then this younger boy in the back tripped, and he fell. His face landed in the dust, and he cried out. And of course, this music starts up, and all these little boys turn around and look. And instead of crossing the finish line, they gather themselves up, they turn around, and together they go back and they lift this little boy up, and they put his arms around their shoulders, and they turn and go back, and they cross the finish line at the same time, all of them putting out their little hands and grabbing this red tape. Well, those of you that know me, Mario, it was so touching, it was so emotional, it was so inspirational. So I sat there, and I clicked on a few more emails, separating, putting into junk and so forth. And then I see that I've gotten a message from John and Helen Steely from Perth, Australia. John and Helen aren't here today, but in the subject line it said happy birthday. And I'd celebrated my birthday at USANA Vive. It's my birthday present to myself. So I opened that up, and they said, Collette, happy birthday. We're sending you a gift we know you will love. Now, I maybe shouldn't have clicked on this, but I did, and it took me to this incredible video, and I'm going to ask them, I would love to show you, and maybe you want to Google it and watch the whole thing, but I'm going to show you just a little over a minute of it. Can you roll that video, please? Wow. Wow. It was one of the most beautiful birthday gifts I've ever received and meant so much to me because shortly after I got involved in USANA, my youngest daughter, Lexi, had a double lung transplant. Many of you know this story, but she was in a coma for 3 months, and she was left paralyzed from the waist down by these drugs that they'd put her on. I'll never forget one day, she was in a wheelchair at the time, and we were going up Encinitas Boulevard, and we were stopped at a stoplight, and there was a bus stop over to the right. And I noticed Lexi looking over at the bus stop, and I looked over there, and there was a young man sitting in a wheelchair. And I saw this tender look in Lexi's eyes, and I said, "Are you okay, honey?" And she said, "Mom, you know, he's just probably a regular guy whose legs don't work." And I just thought that was so profound for a 14-year-old. So these videos had just filled my heart, but I still didn't have my message. I went to bed that night emotionally filled, exhausted. I got up the next morning. Since I went to Sana Vive, I promised my doctor, Armenia, that I would start exercising every day. So I've been walking, I've been hiking in this beautiful place called Double Peak up in North County, San Diego. And I walk on this trail, and then the trail veers off, and it's not paved, and it goes around this knoll, and if you hike around there, there's a bench that's there. And I go there all the time, and I've never seen anyone else there on the bench, so I think of it as my own personal inspiration point. So I was sitting there, and I was looking out over this beautiful valley, Lake San Marcos, and there's this water and all this green area. I saw these children playing, and as I sat there, I thought of this story about my brother Mike. His children are raised now, most of them, but he had this 5-year-old son named Kitch, and he had taken Kitch out to go kite flying. And they'd struggled to get the kite up in the air on this windy day, and then he passed off the string to little 5-year-old Kitch, and then Kitch was flying the kite, and he turned to his dad and said, "Dad, does the string hold the kite up, or does it hold the kite down?" Now, isn't that an interesting question from a 5-year-old? Mike is a great father and never one to miss an opportunity to teach a lesson. So he looked at Kitch and he said, "Well, let's find out. Why don't you let go of the string?" Well, all of you can imagine what happened. You know, the kite fluttered to the ground. And when Mike shared this story with me, he said, "Collette, I took that opportunity to teach my son that sometimes the things that seem to be holding us back, holding us down, the limits in our life are what are allowing us to soar. They're allowing us to soar." And so I'm sitting there on that bench and I'm going, I get it. I almost had to be hit over the head with it, didn't I? But I get it. This is the message. 3 words came to me, and they just literally fluttered down like that kite. Because I was thinking, no limits, no limits. And I can talk about no limits. I'm the, I've seen The Secret, for heaven's sakes. I get it. But you know what? I thought these 3 words, and they just floated down. And I knew it was the message that I had been searching for, and yes, praying for. Recognize, embrace, transcend